He failed 1,000 times, then changed the world. What if I told you the man who gave light to the world once worked in total darkness? What if I told you he was called stupid by his teachers and fired from his job for being unproductive? What if I told you he failed 1,000 times before he succeeded once? This is not a story of easy genius. This is the story of Thomas Edison and how his failures built the modern world. Let's rewind to a boy with a wild imagination and an unstoppable drive to understand how things work. Born in 1847 in a small town called Milan, Ohio, Thomas Alva Edison was anything but ordinary. He wasn't born into wealth. He wasn't surrounded by scientists or scholars. He was a restless, curious child with hearing problems and a deep hunger to learn. But school wasn't made for minds like his. His teachers thought he was slow. One of them even labeled him addled. He only lasted a few months in formal education, so his mother, Nancy Edison, pulled him out and taught him herself. And that changed everything. She believed in him when no one else did. She nurtured his curiosity. She turned their home into a school of wonder. And Edison became obsessed with books, with chemistry, with machines, with possibility. By the age of 10, he was setting up a lab in the basement. By 12, he was selling newspapers and candy on trains. He even published his own newspaper, On Board. By 15, he had learned telegraphy and could send Morse code faster than most professionals. He wasn't just learning, he was building. At 22, he received his first patent for an electric vote recorder. It didn't sell. No one wanted it, but it taught him something critical. It's not enough to invent something. You have to solve a real problem. So he kept going. But the path to greatness was littered with setbacks. For every success Edison had, there were dozens, hundreds of failures. And his biggest test? The light bulb. You've heard the story, right? The man who failed 1,000 times trying to create the light bulb? It's true. Edison and his team tested over 1,000 different materials for the filament. Cotton, linen, wood fibers, even hair from his workers. Every test? A failure. The filaments would burn out too fast. The bulbs would explode. They couldn't contain the light. People laughed at him. They mocked him in the press. Other scientists said it was impossible. But Edison wasn't just looking for success. He was collecting data. He once said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That's not defeat. That's determination. And finally, in 1879, it happened. Carbonized bamboo, a filament that glowed and lasted. The world would never be the same again. But Edison didn't just invent the bulb. He invented the entire system. Power generation, distribution, the electric grid. He literally wired cities for light. Think about that. Before Edison, people lived by candlelight, gas lamps, or darkness. After Edison, the night came alive. Shops stayed open late. Hospitals became safer. Factories ran 24 hours. Entertainment evolved. He changed not just how we see, but how we live. And he didn't stop there. Edison created the phonograph, allowing us to record and replay sound. It blew people's minds. No one had ever heard a human voice captured before. Imagine hearing your own voice for the first time in history. Then came the motion picture camera. Edison didn't invent movies alone, but he helped shape the industry. He built the first film studio. He created a way to capture life and replay it forever. He also improved batteries, built electric pens, invented voting machines, developed cement processes, and more. Over 1,000 patents. Let that sink in. One man, one lifetime, more than 1,000 inventions. But for each one that worked, dozens didn't. There was a talking doll. It terrified children. The electric pen, it failed commercially. The ore milling project, it cost him millions. But Edison never gave up. He didn't see failure as an end. He saw it as feedback. He once said, "Many of life's failures are people who did not realize how close they were to success when they gave up." And his work ethic? Unmatched. He often worked 18 to 20-hour days. He slept on a cot in his lab. He lived inside his mission. He created Menlo Park, the first industrial research lab, a factory of innovation. He hired brilliant minds, built teams, and turned invention into a process. This was the birth of organized R&D. He showed the world that progress isn't random. It's designed. It's built from trial, error, and relentless iteration. And yes, Edison had rivals. Most famously, Nikola Tesla. While Tesla worked on alternating current AC, Edison backed direct current DC. The war of currents was brutal. Newspapers took sides. There were public demonstrations. Animals were electrocuted to prove whose system was safer. It got dark, literally and morally. And while history often celebrates Tesla's genius, Edison was the one who commercialized electricity. He built the infrastructure, the first power station, the patents, the companies that will become General Electric. Edison was a businessman, a promoter, a visionary. And while his tactics weren't always clean, he got things done. Was he perfect? No. Was he always right? Definitely not. But was he relentless? Absolutely. And that's what changed the world. In 1914, when a fire destroyed much of his research facility, he didn't fall apart. He didn't quit. Instead, he told his son, "Go get your mother. She'll never see a fire like this again." And the next day, he was back at work. That's not just passion. That's obsession. That's purpose. Edison's greatest invention wasn't a device. It wasn't the bulb, or the phonograph, or the camera. It was a mindset, a belief that failure is simply data, that quitting is the only true failure, that greatness is built, step by painful step, by those who refuse to stop. So here's the truth. You don't have to be a genius. You don't have to get it right the first time. You just have to keep going. If the man who lit up the world had to fail 1,000 times first, then maybe your failures aren't setbacks. Maybe they're the blueprint. So if you failed 5 times, or 50, or 500, good. You're not lost. You're learning. Because the man who changed everything started in the dark. He failed. He struggled. He got laughed at. And then he lit up the world. So what's stopping you? If this story lit a fire in you, if it made you feel something, do one thing. Like this video. Subscribe to the channel.